You're listening to Parasearch Radio, news, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. Parasearch UK Radio. Parasearch Radio, broadcasting to the UK and beyond.
The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or its affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised. You're listening to Kerry Greenaway and Mark Manley on the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show, only on Parasearch Radio.
Good evening and welcome to the Dark Mirror Paranormal Show. My name is Kerry Greenaway and I'm joined in the studio tonight by number one co-host, Mr. Mark Manley.
Good evening, viewers. How the very devil are you?
And my other number one co-host, Mr. Carl Hutchinson.
Sorry, Kerry, I was just listening to Natasha Dean and The Deal with the Devil. Sorry. Hello, everybody.
Tenacious D.
Yeah, we're not going to be playing
There's
that.
a Tenacious D song I like, but I'm not going to say what that one is because it's got something to do with
they have The Deal with the Devil.
Yeah, but I've heard that song and yeah, it's really not suitable for listening, viewing pleasures.
No way I'm going to play that or even do lyrics from that.
No.
You can't really, with Natasha D, you can't really sort of vocalise unless you're on a certain after hour.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, on these little sneaky peeks, we are talking all about deals with the devil tonight, heading off that conversation before it got any further. So, guys, what do we make of this topic? Deals with the devil. Firstly, question, would you make a deal with the devil? And if you would, what would it be for?
No, I wouldn't.
I would have to think, and this is probably going to sound really, really wrong, but I have to think about it for a little while and work out the exact details of the deal with the devil and what I want before I give it to him. Because he's a slippery so-and-so. And
very slippery.
Normally he would find a way of slippering out of some sort of deal. So if I did make it, I would probably make it, but I'd make sure the wording and the contract is tight for my side, because I don't really want a red hot poker anywhere, and I don't want to be dancing in fire for eternity.
Well,
okay.
No, exactly. That's why I wouldn't do it.
I
just wouldn't do it full stop.
But yeah, I probably would do if I could get away with it.
That's if you have a belief
I was
system
married
in
once,
God
and that was
and
bad
the
enough.
devil.
Well,
And
that's
bought
very
into
good.
you actually bought into the levels of hell that Dante put out there. Just saying.
Yeah, but now you're talking about...
I love the way... I love the way Dante's books were originally brought out as the Divine Comedy. Yeah, I was bloody rolling in the aisles with that one.
I must admit, when you read...
The devil eats you and she gets you out, yeah.
But when you read some of those, some of the books about Dante's and all that lot, not some of the books at Dante's or whatever, but you read those books, some of the ways, the torture and the purgatory, wow!
I know.
Yeah, he was very, had a very good imagination.
Yeah, for that sort of time when it was actually written, that gentleman had some good imagination.
Or serious issues. I'm not sure of which of the two it is.
Or insider facts.
Well, he does talk about escaping by going in his bumhole, so, you know.
Oh, my God. And anyway.
That's how he escaped.
The last, I know, but We're not talking about Dante. We're not talking about Dante. The last time we spoke about this,
elbow deep he was.
He was checking for his watch.
The last time we spoke about Deals with the Devil, oh my God.
He was checking to see if he had an enlarged prostate.
We looked at the 27 Club. We looked at Crossroads. I'm talking them now. I'm just going to keep talking. Crossroads. We looked at the legend of that famous guitarist.
There's a film made about that.
Not Tenacious D. Robert Johnson.
Yeah, but it's the same principle. He made a devil to... Tenacious D's song is about him making a deal with the devil so he could play the most...
That's what the film
guitar in the world.
Yeah, that's Pick of Destiny is about, because at the end of the Pick of Destiny he appears and he does the song to get out of
the same principle of what we're talking about.
Okay.
Kerry Greenway, do not poo-poo Tenacious D, what we're talking about. It is a proper fact that the lyrics to that is about the same what we're talking about. He made a deal with the devil so he could play the guitar the best way possible.
Well, that was the tale really with Robert Johnson, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But it goes back further. It does go back further because I was quite... Yes, sorry, Mark. That.
No, I was just about to say, Robert Johnson, there was actually an episode of... do you remember... oh, my God, it's just gone straight out of my head. There was a film done with Keanu Reeves in it. He was a paranormal investigator, had cancer, this, that, and the
other. They've just made a TV series.
Constantine. Yes, I've seen the series, and they've only done one series of it. It's absolutely amazing. It's a shame they cancelled it, but one of the episodes... Oh, there's a second one now. Oh, awesome, I ain't seen that one. But in the first series, one of the episodes is about that deal with the blues singer and about the record that he had, because as the record was being cut, on the song you can hear the devil coming to claim him and drag him back down
the whole thing about the urban myth about any record that they played that had a deal with the devil, if you play it slowly backwards, there's the whole deal with the devil. And
if you play it backwards, you can normally hear my ex-mother-in-law.
But that's not what we're talking about. Go on, Karen.
Anyway, I decided to go back further in time and see if there was further links in what cultural way of where deals with the devil came from. This is the road I went down anyway, everybody. They didn't. They went down a completely different one.
They're related to my ex-in-laws. They came from Harrogate.
There's a lot of, reading Carrie's notes that she sent through. There's a lot of things about virgins.
Virgins.
Well, it would be. It's Carrie. Virgin and ridiculous. We know.
Christ and and blah.
Let's face it, you could never have any Bible stuff done.
Weird.
Hang on. Shush. You could never have any Bible stuff done in Canvey Island, or any Christmas stories or anything, because you can never find 3 wise men and a virgin.
Oh God! Every year, every week, every goddamn week.
Oh, that's bright. Normally, when somebody sets fire to the house.
Anyway,
aliens.
We haven't got an alien link on this one. I am sure
I
of it.
got an alien link.
No.
I have got an alien link.
We're going to talk about.
It's a loose one, but it's still a link.
It's a loose one. Bit like Dante.
Bit like a stool, but you know.
Anyway, we're going to talk about.
And you thought I wasn't on form tonight.
We're going to talk about Saint Theophilus the Penitent, or Theophilus of Adana.
Hang on, Philophilus, wasn't he
Adana.
the Henry character?
Theophilus.
He was a Lenny Henry character, wasn't he?
I have no idea.
Theophilus B. Wildy Beast.
Oh my God.
That was the name, wasn't it?
Yeah, Theophilus B. Wildy Beast.
The Barry White character.
Right? Yo, ladies love my growing action.
There's a deal
anyway.
with the devil.
Oh my God. Anyway, Theophilus was an archdeacon.
Kerry, if you got Theophilus, did you actually go to the doctor and get the cream to clear it up?
Oh my God! Can we please look at what?
And Commander Adana.
It's a trap.
God. Anyway, right. Oh God.
Weird piloting a ship. Anyway.
It's in Sicilia, which is part of modern Turkey. Now, Theophilus was elected to be a bishop. I'm going to just cry in a minute. But he actually turned it down because he was so, he had
because he was
so
caught
much
bashing
humility.
another bishop. Yeah.
Well, no, he just was like, oh no, I'm not worthy. I'm showing my humility and stuff, right? So somebody else got elected in his stead. When the
He wasn't called Peter.
Mark.
When the new bishop
I just thought you assaulted another bishop. That was all. Wasn't just saying.
ruined Theophilus's chances as the position of archdeacon, Theophilus wasn't very happy with that, and all of a sudden wasn't very humility. His humility sort of disappeared on this one. So he sought out a wizard to help him contact Satan. Now, Satan demanded that Theophilus renounced Christ and the Virgin Mary, and had to sign it with his own blood. Right? So Theophilus did this.
That must admit, just on a side note, there's a lot of these deals with the devil where you sign in blood.
Yeah. Well, we talked about blood bonds before, though, haven't we? When we was talking about the marriage scenario and the old style of Wicca hand fasting used to involve a blood bond.
So Theodorus Lovebeast decided to sign an agreement in blood.
Yeah.
What did he do, Kerry? What did he do?
The devil. What do you mean, what did he do?
Well,
he got the position he wanted.
Well, funny enough, we're talking about deals with the devil, so you should know what he did when he signed an agreement in blood to the devil.
Well, yeah, he wanted to be archdeacon.
Yeah!
He wanted to be an archdeacon, right, and got archdeaconship, if that's the word. But he lost his soul for that. But then, see, a few years later, he regretted this and then did a bit of repenting. He prayed to the old Virgin Mary for forgiveness. Now, there are various endings on this one. So some say that he fasted for 40 days. The Virgin Mary came to him, told him off. And, he was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I want my soul back
I'm going to spank your bottom, you naughty man.
And Mary apparently went and spoke to God, and then another 30 days later she came back with the contract and got him out the contract.
I like a virgin. I couldn't play it. There was no hole in the middle.
Sorry guys, just to talk, because I've noticed a common link when you read about these deals with the devil, when you try and repent and you try and take it back. There's this 30-day period.
Well, there was 40 days first and then 30 days afterwards. That's one damn hungry archdeacon, right?
It's like a warranty now on a laptop. You have 30 days. If you don't like it, you can bring it back. Is that the sort of thing we're talking about?
Well, it sounds like it on this one. Because he got what he wanted.
If you did put a deal with the devil and you decided, right, I'm going to have 29 days of absolute fun and games. I am going to do everything in my power to be the most wahey. And then on the 30th day, I'm going to go, sorry, I didn't like that laptop. Can I have it back?
So basically, you're going to turn yourself
basically, you could do whatever you want. Once you sell your soul to the devil, you could do whatever you want, and then just repent at the end, and the old Virgin Mary's going to be like, "Oh, don't worry, we'll get you out of this deal. Don't you worry." And, you've got to be proper repentant, though.
Not being sarcastic, which I normally am, but when you read these historical cases, there's always this period of time between them where he signs the deal, he gets what he wants, and then repents, and then 30 days later he gets out of it. So I'm just joking about it. I'm just saying I want to be. Actually,
it's like a warranty.
It's like a warranty of a laptop. You go, I'm going to play the game, and I'm going to download stuff, and once it starts not working properly, I'm going to take it back. Like, it's 30 days. I'm repenting.
It's like being a kid and you swap a toy with your mate, and then your mum finds out and gets involved, and you're like, I want my toy back, and the mate goes no, and you go, right, mum, and your mum goes, give me your toy back now.
Yeah. Tell your mum. Or you're playing marbles and you win the big marble, and then all of a sudden somebody goes, no, you didn't win that fairly.
The funny part about this, well, I say funny, it's inappropriately funny, is that he got the contract back, but Satan weren't too happy. He weren't too happy.
No, he wasn't.
He weren't.
He wanted to have it
so
all.
it took like a few days for God to have it out with Satan and get the contract back. It took 3 days for that to happen. So all this time he's thinking, oh God, is God going to get me out of this or what? I'm right nervous. And when he woke up one morning and the contract was on his chest, he actually died out of sheer joy to be free of the burden of the contract.
Oh, that's
an anticlimax. So where did he go? Did he go up there, or did he go to
days of absolute joy and happiness? Then after that, you go, the warranty's knackered, and then all of a sudden you're brown bread, you're sticking up daisies. And
he went and haunted the living daylights out the bishop. He went and haunted the living daylights out the guy that took his job. That's what he did.
Well, the devil was also supposed to have given Theophilus great wealth, thanks to his position in the church. The wealth was then distributed to the poor, actually, just before Theophilus' ecstatic death. Love that expression, that's why I kept it in there. Ecstatic death.
Isn't ecstatic death like when you take loads and loads of Viagra and OD on Viagra, and then just as you die, your heart goes as you go, and your brain goes, and your body goes, no, I'm enough now.
Oh my God.
Do you know what? That actually happened to somebody. A true story, going completely off topic now. True story, a guy had a date with his girlfriend, and she was known for being a bit of an imp, and this is true, it happened in America. And he took a load of Viagra just to be safe side, and what he didn't know was she had got some liquid type Viagra and put it in his drink, so he drank it well, and they were in the middle of it. Just hang on. And he went to the loo, popped another couple of Viagras just to be on the safe side, and then came back, and they were doing what comes naturally, and just as he got to, his heart gave out as he gave out, and he died. It's a true story.
Oh. So is that got to do with the devil?
Anyway.
No, I'm just saying.
He's gone off on a random rabbit hole there. Mark, in the chat room, Faust actually took his inspiration from the story of Theophilus. So, that was the pre-runner to Faust, I believe.
Okay.
Wow.
Right, now we talked at the top of the show, there's a link. There seems to be a link. Music and the devil, right?
Yep.
So, I found some more.
Listen to a lot of rap these.
I found some more information out. Giuseppe Dardini, 1692 to 1770, an Italian Baroque composer, right? Very famous in his days. Oh, I don't know. In fact, it didn't sound that good when I listened to it, but what do I know? I'm hardly a music connoisseur. I like trap music. I don't, it has to be, I don't know. I don't mind a bit of classical, but this was not floating my boat. I shared this actually.
Oh, is that the violin?
It's called the Sonata in G minor, Trillo del Diavola, the Devil's Trill.
Mm-hmm.
And Tartini was. I have to say they are supposed to be really, really good. These are really, really good musicians. I'm not going to say that they weren't, but he wanted to. He was quite a prolific composer. But he wanted to compose the perfect piece of music. He was always on the search for the perfect piece of music. Now, Tartini actually had a dream that the devil came to him. And I had a dream. I played an absolutely fantastic sonata, violin sonata. And he says that he woke up. As soon as he woke up, he tried to recreate that piece of music. And that is where this comes from.
Yeah.
This sonata. Now, he also said that he made a pact with the devil who promised to be at his services on all occasions.
Which is... we talk about deals with the devil, we talk about this, that and the other. And I can guarantee what you've just described is probably... There's got to be at least 50-60% of the deals with the devil, they talk about music. They talk about... all of a sudden, this person came. I personally think Ed Sheeran has got to deal with the devil. Look at the hair. Music industry, and I think that guy's got to deal with the devil because this guy's all over the place. It doesn't matter whether he's doing songs with Snoop Dogg, Justin Bieber, or anybody like that. The guy cannot hear. Even when he acts like a complete and utter wooden horse in Game of Thrones, everybody loved him.
Well, he does seem to have the golden touch, does Ed Sheeran.
Maybe Ginge from Lowestoft in Norfolk did a deal with the devil.
I was just about to say...
Because there's so many of these stories. There's so many... I must admit, when I was looking at it, there's literally... umpteen different scenarios of people who have produced unbelievable music. Mm-hmm. And there's this there's this underlying thing, particularly when you go back down a couple of 100 years ago. And as we're talking about, like the Sinatra, not Sinatra, but you're talking about the guy we just spoke about. These guys have produced unbelievable music, and all of a sudden they've gone, poof, and they're stratosphere. They're like, it's the best, it's perfect, it's amazing.
Do you not think, though, that it is literally just... These people have got such fantastic talents in their own right. It just adds to a notoriety. Back in the, when you think of the ages of these things, you built a career. Your career was basically playing to crowds. That's where your money came from, and you wanted places to book you. So the better the notoriety, even with that amazing talent, maybe amazing talent isn't enough to fill a theatre, and this does no harm. Let's be fair. This does no harm. It adds the thrill factor with amazing talent.
If you go back to those sort of days, most of these were the street performers, or if you go back a little bit further, like court jesters or bards, as they used to be called in the Middle Ages, where these guys used to come up and do a little turn for the king of the time or whatever.
No, I'm sure that's down the docks in Swansea.
Yeah, well, I'm sure it is, and I'm sure there's plenty of people that have done a deal with the devil to be in a port in Swansea. But you look at it.
Well, a particular port.
You look at all these different people, and then over years, all of a sudden, these people that came out of nowhere and then became famous from it.
Mm.
And
they're famous
one of the interesting.
They make a splash. They make a splash enough to be in like the newspapers, enough to be. Word precedes the performer. Do you know what I mean? And that's how their work is showcased, isn't it? I mean, he was a composer.
That's exactly why I kind of joked about Ed Sheeran, because Ed Sheeran, up until 4 or 5 years ago, he was sleeping on people's couches, strumming, and he was a street.
Yeah, he was.
And all of a sudden,
it doesn't matter though, does it? Everyone starts somewhere, and he has got incredible talent.
Whatever.
I love it.
What we're saying about is going from nowhere to bang. Is that a deal with the devil? Tell me wrong. Is that what we're supposed to be talking about tonight?
Well, no, we're not talking about Ed Sheeran. We're talking about Trinity.
No, I'm not talking about Ed Sheeran.
Sorry, Tartini. Even.
Where you go from obscurity to, like the bishop, he wasn't there, and all of a sudden he did a deal with the devil, and he was the bishop. Or in some of the other cases, he went from somewhere, so he went from nowhere to there. So, like I'm saying. Not saying Ed Sheeran has done a deal with the devil. Not saying Ed Sheeran is son of the devil or whatever. I'm just saying he's come from nowhere.
Sit back and get your popcorn.
Stardom. Go on, spit that.
Kerry choking.
And then talk.
Kerry choking.
Sorry, now carry on, Mark.
No.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Shut up! Right. As I was trying to say lots of times... this particular legend, there's a couple of different endings to it. One of them is that when the devil appeared and played his sonata concerto, whatever you want to call it, he had extra fingers on his hand so that he could do all the extra notes, and the violin had a couple of extra strings. But there's also the same thing, because I looked into this one myself. There's another twist to that legend that says that Giuseppe Tartini actually had 2 extra fingers on both hands. And when he played the violin, he had a violin particularly made with an extra string on it so he could do the extra notes. And that's why people find it incredibly difficult and demanding to play, because without the extra fingers, you've got to be incredibly ambidextrous.
Yes, but if you think about the time he was born and the 6-finger thing, we know what people used to think about that. That had witch links.
Incest, hello.
We know that is a...
Back then, people had feet attached to their heads,
A perception from Anne Boleyn. Think of Anne Boleyn. She had 6 fingers. They called her the Witch Queen. Do you know what I mean? So that perception of that, because they didn't understand the medical
Look what happened
condition.
to me when they changed the strings to G1.
And then he creates this phenomenally difficult to play sonata, and it comes with this legend. You can kind of see how it gets built up around a legend gets built up around somebody, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. like I said, I used to play the violin. They changed the strings for cheese wire, and the rest is history. I was an adventurer till I took an arrow to the knee, but yes.
Carl?
I think I've covered it.
Oh, snort. Oh, God. 25 minutes in, and I've popped out a snort already.
No, I agree. Obviously, there's like as you say, back in the day, if you had if you had 6 fingers, or you had 3 nipples, or whatever. Scaramanga, like I was going to say, was Scaramanga deal with the devil in James Bond. But yeah, you're right. If they had different types of things, people adapt. People with disability adapted and whatever, and they then treated as the famous cases. If you had any disability, even down to the 1940s during World War II, during World War II, if you had any type of defect or autism or anything like that, you were treated not as a race. So yeah, I can understand that over the years, potentially that these people had a talent, maybe with 6 fingers, maybe whatever, that they could have then been cast as they've done a deal with the devil. But
I'll give you a little example of that. As you know, I've got one hand, one foot. I was British lightweight kickboxing champion, and then after I put on some weight and worked out stuff, I was British cruiserweight champion. And again, disabled, nothing grew back. But I had so many people who were like, "How the hell did you do that? There's a bit of cheating going on. There must have been this and there must have been that." And it's like, "No, mate, I just practiced. Didn't make a deal with the devil or anything,
No, old Tyrannosaurus Rex Mark over there never did a deal with the devil.
I think on this one,
No. Just call me Mr. Fat Fighter. What was that?
It's all getting very vicious on a Friday night. I'm going to have to rack the gin out in a minute if this goes on. Jeepers. So anyway, right. What's interesting about this one is we know he's a prolific composer in his own right, yeah, and we know that he got this in a dream, right?
Yeah.
He got this in a dream, right? He's a prolific composer. He has this dream. Says he made this deal, does the Devil's Sonata, writes the Devil's Sonata. It is very, you know what I mean? It's just a dream, right?
Well, Harry, can I throw this out there? He then says that he had this dream. He then says he wrote this material. Everybody then says this is the best sonata ever. Is that kind of like modern day Chinese whispers?
Exactly.
No, a bit like the Bible.
Oh dear, we're going on to the Bible.
No. I'm just saying. I'm just giving a prime example where something is word of mouth. So you say a story about somebody, like you say, this person was normal. Then all of a sudden, over time, he did this, he did that, and then once you told one person, you told another person that actually wasn't there at the time. All of a sudden, it wasn't. This person was like this. He went to sleep. He woke up as this. He then did this. So the word of mouth sort of progresses the story along over years.
Yeah,
and all of a sudden, by the time it comes to nowadays, this guy was a complete and utter, didn't know what a violin was. By the time in 2 days later, he's playing absolutely unbelievable. He's done devil's work.
Well, to be fair, this is what someone said about it. He said he awoke with the violence of his sensation and instantly seized his fiddle in hopes of expressing what he had just heard. But in vain.
What? He instantly seized his fiddle?
He woke up and he strapped his fiddle.
Right.
There you go.
He, however, then composed a piece which is perhaps the best of all of his work, called The Devil's Sonata. But it was so inferior to what his sleep had produced that he declared he should have broken his instrument and abandoned music forever if he could have subsisted by any other means.
Yeah, but it's like we're saying, it's people that have...
Breaking your instrument, eh?
Okay.
Toys out of his pram, I feel.
He's broke his banjo. His banjo string broke, and all of a sudden the next day he's strumming his banjo like he's the God's creation to whatever, and the devil's behind it. But at the end of the day, he could have restrung his banjo. He could have then played a song that he was good at. I'm saying banjos, violins, whatever.
Guitars, anything with a string,
Any instrument, because at the end of the day, it's urban myth. It's like this guy did this. He was rubbish. All of a sudden, something happened overnight, and then all of a sudden, he was amazing. Those stories...
He was pretty amazing before he fell asleep. I would just like to say that.
Yeah, but he could have hundreds of years.
Well, he's still well known today, so he did pretty well for himself, I would say.
Yeah, at the end of the day, but you're going back to what his music is now. What I'm saying is, this guy could have been talented before, and he just hadn't penned his masterpiece. You don't look at like Robbie Williams and Angels getting together with his co-writer.
He wrote that when he was well stoned.
Take that and didn't really do anything solo, really dodgy songs. And all of a sudden he came out with Angels. I'm not saying Robbie Williams penned a song with part of it. He got together and he progressed.
I don't think the devil would actually write... Right, take the Robbie Williams thing, right? I can't see the devil going, hi, devil, I want to write the best song ever. And then he goes, the devil goes, I tell you what, I'm going to give you Angels.
At the end of the day, you look at what Robbie was when he left Take That. He was part of the biggest boy band. He then decided he'd eat a few pies, put on a bit of weight, snort white powder up his snout.
The thing with Robbie, though, is
allegedly.
There are best singers. There are better singers than Robbie, but he has a stage presence. He has something. He has that personality that carries him forward in that.
That's what I'm saying.
Some of the music he's produced is absolutely brilliant. Some of it is crap.
Harry.
This
is what I'm trying to say. I'm giving modern day scenarios of potentially what could have been happening with this guy who penned the most perfect Sinatra.
No, I don't disagree.
Something that he could have been absolutely rubbish with, and all of a sudden he just hit a hot spot. He penned it, produced it, he got it. A bit like Robbie.
Well, no, because Robbie was famous and well known and had an absolutely fantastic career with Take That in his own right. And then, right, he went off the rails, but we all love a bit of Robbie going off the rails. And then he's produced Angels.
Take That and Angels, what did Robbie do?
He did Freedom. Now, talking of...
Snorted a lot of white powder, got very, very chunky, and didn't do fuck all.
Talking of tortured souls, which was Robbie's time of having a tortured soul, I would just like to point out, leave my Robbie out of the
tortured
equation.
what hole?
He's picking on my two of my favourite singers, old Ed Sheeran and Robbie Williams, and he's... No, don't ruin him. Everyone's ruining images for me tonight. Stop now. Talking of tortured souls, let's talk about Nicola Paganini.
Before we talk about that, just for the people listening, why do you think I've chosen two of Kerry's best artists to side slap or take the mickey out slightly? I wonder why. Now let's go back to what we're talking about.
Hang on. I got a
trying to
mental
poke the
image,
beast,
for you.
the beast of anger.
Robbie Williams, when he put on a bit of weight with the little ginger person snorting something out of his boob crack. Anyway. There you go.
What the hell? Anyway, let's talk about Nicola Paganini if we're talking tortured souls. Paganini was basically a child prodigy. He really was a fantastic violin player. But he was 15 years old when he embarked on a solo career. He actually had a nervous breakdown, and then basically he went into just about every form of addiction that you can name.
Hang on. He was great, and then all of a sudden he decided to go in every possible addiction.
Oh, there we go.
There's links here. Yeah, I'm sorry. Open out there. There's a lot of links to modern day life.
History repeats itself. History repeats itself is all I'm going to say. Except there is a rumour that Paganini actually murdered a woman and used her intestines as violin strings. So From this, people say that he's actually imprisoned her soul within the instrument, and women's screams were said to be heard from the violin when he performed on stage. Or was he just a really bad violin player?
Mark, we're basically getting on to the haunted object, really, aren't we?
No, we're not going down that route.
Well, if you've basically murdered...
I am. Don't want to
you've
collect
used their skin for strumming strings. Yeah.
Intestines.
But basically, Paganini was the Ed Gein of his day.
Yeah.
But you can imagine, right, his reputation, he's got gambling, drinking, womanising. He's now got this rumour about a murder and using your intestines.
You've got gambling, womanising, drinking. What's he done wrong?
What do you mean, what's he done wrong?
The drugs.
You just said gambling, womanising and drinking.
Yeah.
He's obviously done something wrong.
And then he murdered this woman. And he, nice character. And he didn't, and he looks the part, to be fair, this guy. He's,
Hang on, hold up. Hang on. I've just realised something. 15 years old, booze hound and quite frankly, a panty hound. What the hell were these Italian Renaissance women doing? Like a horny 15-year-old waggling his violin at them. I'll be like, hey, man,
I would imagine he's probably a bit older.
Yeah, you've got to remember the Italians are just weird people anyway.
This is in 1782.
What was the guy in Venice? You know, the one that was supposed to be the lover.
Oh, Casanova.
Casanova. Wasn't he supposed to be some young, ugly so-and-so, but he had a bit of oomph?
It was supposed to look like
all in the delivery, boys. It's not actually about looks. But it's all in the delivery.
I'm sorry, Kerry. I'm sorry. I've been out. I've got the gift of the gab. I'm quite funny. Yeah, I'm sorry. Some airhead bloke off Love Island walks in. The women are straight off to that. They're not going to look at the person that's going to go, yeah, I could tell you a joke. No, they're going to look at my ripped muscles, the one that go, nah, bollocks to that.
Mate,
well, there was something about it because...
Trust me, I've got 3 inches up to the ladies out there, you know.
Well, all I'm saying is he must have had something.
It is big enough.
Because the description of this guy is hollow cheeks, pale skin, thin lips, very tall and thin, and often dressed in black. I'm seeing Marilyn Manson.
Why would you want Jack Skellington to come towards you waggling?
He's described most of the cast. The vampire films.
Paganini, bugger off. Now,
and we all know how vampires can do for a girl's blood pressure.
When the sun comes up, you'll be dust on the floor, mate.
Anyway, guys, he had very long, thin fingers, which is perfect for violin players, apparently. And didn't actually, I don't think he actually performed with sheet music. He was a bit lively, should we say, on stage. There's various theories as to why he was like this. Now, the thought of basically making a deal with the devil, Paganini making a deal with the devil, actually started by people saying, audience members, saying that they thought they had seen the devil helping Paganini play.
Are we talking about you see the guy playing and something is behind him, sort of overseeing and moving his hands?
Yeah, I kind of think there's that.
I can understand that. If you're playing the guitar very, very quickly, like particularly the Spanish guys when they play the Spanish guitar, their hand just is a blur on the guitar.
This is what this guy is like.
I can understand that. I can see how people would say it looks like something.
Yeah, the devil must have had it. It was absolutely fantastic.
I'm not going to make any jokes or any innuendos. I'm agreeing with you.
I'll do that for you.
Oh, blimey, they're actually agreeing with me. Now, after this, people started to see doppelgangers of Paganini with hooves and clothes. Like, devil's feet, basically, and horns and stuff. Overactive imagination. How much did they have to drink at the opera, is all I'm saying.
I've got to jump in there. This is the famous thing about, God, how many cases, we're just talking about the paranormal, and then we talk about other cases. How many cases over time that, I'll give you a famous, there's this genre of instance in the paranormal where this strange gentleman turns up. They play cards.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Let me finish. He plays cards. The person drops a card. He looks underneath and he sees hoof feet.
Mm-hmm.
how many famous haunted locations is that a scenario to?
Pretty much one in every country.
And if you turn that round on the deal with the devil, that he teaches you to play the guitar and he's like, ding, 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 and he's got 4 feet.
And it sells tickets and gets... Could you leave that alone a second? Because that's really putting me off there, Kerry. You know, thank you. Just for a minute.
Sorry.
Hey! It's Scaramanga looking for her third nipple. Right, anyway.
No, you understand what I'm saying? Is you start talking about like overseeing stuff and seeing stuff and then all this sort of stuff, and then you see other parts of the devil, whether it's his normally his hoof foot, they leave imprints, he never disappears, or he does this, that, the other, or he this. Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, me and Mark got distracted in the background.
Yeah, I know what's going on. I can see what's going on. I'm trying to be professional.
I've got boobies to the right of me, boobies in front of
so
me.
we get
So,
41 minutes into the show and now you start being professional. Okay. Anyway, it was even said that the devil once made
Okay. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next 10 minutes, I'm going to be unprofessional.
Oh no, what have I done? Once made lightning strike the end of Paganini's bow during a performance.
Oh, I bet that was painful for him.
Could you imagine? No wonder he looked a bit weird.
Yeah, I bet his eyes glassed over and he went, "Oh, that was some orgasm."
I mean, to be honest with you, he had syphilis and tuberculosis, and then ended up dying of larynx cancer.
Yeah, but he was a hit with the ladies. So he had tuberculosis, syphilis. He's
what a cat!
Like whatever. He was a dab hand with the bow. This guy was a hit with the ladies. These Italians really needed to stop drinking.
Mate,
anyway, when he was on his deathbed,
accent on a girl, but if one then come up to me and they're like, drip, drip, dripping and pass, and say, to the doctor's office, I said, what have I got? You know?
Oh no, see, Cole, now you've started bark off. Now, Paganini actually refused. He actually refused the last rites from a priest. Right at the end. So
really?
all this, yeah. And basically, this just fuels the rumor, doesn't it? This just fuels that perception that he's made a deal with the devil. He doesn't want to have the last rites before he dies.
Mercury poisoning. He was treated with mercury for his syphilis, and that led to further health complications. Yeah. No, really.
Yeah, you remember once mercury gets inactive, it becomes
poison.
Well,
I don't know what that hand gesture is, but what, he died with a smile on his face?
It's toxic, isn't it?
It's toxic.
Yeah.
You don't want to be licking. You don't want to be licking something that has mercury coming out of it.
Now, he didn't stop travelling even once he died. He actually went on a little tour.
For a while.
He went on a tour?
He went on a tour, even after he died, right? He died in Nice. Then he was transferred to the cellar of a house.
He died in it.
Right? They wouldn't bury him because he didn't have his last rites. So he sort of went on a tour.
Couldn't close the
And
could they?
Somebody go, I tell you what. Roll up, geezer.
Honestly,
I tell you what,
this is insane.
I'm sorry. I do apologise to any Italians that are listening, but wow, back in the day, you guys were bloody weird.
But the no churches would bury him because he didn't have his last rites.
50 women, and you got this bloke who died, but they thought, no, we're not burying him. We're going to take him round on tour.
Get this right. He then got taken to an abandoned leper house.
Rolling Stones, really, isn't it?
He got taken to an abandoned leper house. Then he got moved to a cement vat in an olive oil factory.
We are talking about the Rolling Stones.
I know, right? And then he was transferred to a private house near Nice. 4 years after his death, Pope Gregory the something allowed... I don't know what XV1 is.
Doesn't seem to move.
Actually allowed the violinist's body to be taken to Genoa, where he was finally laid to rest in La Villetta Cemetery in Parma, Italy.
Yeah.
Well, they thought he was the devil as well, didn't they? They thought that because of his tall, gaunt, spindly, monster, batty, vampire like creature. They thought it was well.
Batty.
I haven't heard that
He's the
for a few years.
He's the Batty Man, yeah.
I'm sorry, guys. We're completely alienating our Italian listeners.
I think we're alienating all of our listeners. I don't think it's just the Italians.
Yes, I said pizza pie. I love Italian pie. All right.
I like a bit of Italian.
I like a bit of Italian too.
Yeah.
I'm sure you do, my beautiful boys. I kind of was wondering, gosh, do I dare continue? Do I even dare continue with this?
Oh, of course you got. We're going to get it worse. You told me to calm down.
Oh, shush.
You're in trouble, lady.
I know,
On
right?
one point, I will say what Carl was trying to say about, all these rumours, all these people who basically dealing. What are you doing, Carl? Were you just spanking a monkey or something? All these people who were, not had the sales, they weren't doing very well and they make their opus, they make their famous thing. Then all of a sudden, rumours start about them having deals with the devil and this, that, and the other, and people get curious. Oh, let's go and have a look. Sold out, world tours. Oh, thank you very much, New York. You rock. Oh, I got syphilis. No.
Yeah. The two composers or the two violinists we've been talking about were credible in their own right before they were supposed to remain. I mean, old Paganini was no.
Yeah, back in the day, they weren't world famous. They were probably famous in their village, maybe a couple of 100 miles.
That's quite a lot back in the day. When you're looking
at
16,
but they're now world famous. We're talking about on radio.
Don't really serve them now, though, does it?
All over the world.
They haven't been reborn.
Is the devil still happening for these people? Are they still like strumming the old twangers?
The worst bit about this, I think, though, is they're famous now for what they did when they were alive. But that's only because people are worldwide aware of themselves. You're right. Back in the day, it would only have been a more localised fame because of the time of the time of.
Yeah, but you also got remember one thing. We're talking. I'm going to be completely serious. I know it's hard to believe. It's Friday night. It's Farmer's Road. But I'm going to be completely serious. When you come to music, or when you come to art, or when you come to something theatrical, once you're dead,
doing that, wipe it out.
Once you're dead, once you're brown bread, once you're brown food, whatever you want to say, you become more famous.
This is very true. Yeah.
There we go.
Has he got any of these people?
We're not saying everybody that's died that became famous has done a deal with the devil. We're just saying any artist that dies, they're paying. Once you're brown bread and you're in a case and you're in the ground, you become famous. You look at Elvis. His back catalogue has earned more money since he's been dead.
I know,
and people said he made a deal.
John Lennon.
People say he made a deal.
Lennon, the Beatles, Michael Jackson. Once you're dead, you earn shed load of money. Doesn't mean that's a deal with the devil. That's how things work. So back in the day, once you penned something that was potentially very popular in my own town, I've got weirdos where I live that play a good guitar and that's a good sound. It doesn't mean I want to hear them on Radio 1 playing the music.
I was about to say,
if they pop their clogs and then 50 years later, the only thing from my town is this nutter who licks his armpits and plays the guitar, and he's got good music.
So you know Sting then, yeah?
Oh my God!
What I was about to say
I'm sorry.
Carl, shush. What I was about to say about Paganini. Shush. You'll be quiet. What I was about to say was Paganini. The difference between being famous in his own right then and then all of a sudden having a deal with the devil was we all know he liked the ladies and stuff. So basically, money wise, since before the deal, he was lucky if he got a reach around for like, I don't know, £5. And then since then he got famous in that and he could have afforded courtesans.
Or Lira, because you're in
Lira, that's the one, yeah. It's another bloody foreign country. I don't know. They're next door to each other. One shaped like a bat,
Wow.
Anyway, why is the violin or a stringed instrument said to be the instrument of choice for the devil? There are very famous photographs of devils.
Have you played it?
What?
Have you tried to play a violin or a guitar?
Yes.
I have.
Is it hard?
Yeah.
I can.
Mark, let me finish. Is it hard?
Well, I found it hard. I couldn't make
There
nice music with it at all. But I used to play the clarinet.
People say guitar, particularly violin. Violin's one of the biggest of this deals with the devil. It's a hard instrument to play.
Yeah.
Particularly very, very well.
But not impossible, because plenty of people do it to a high skill.
Yeah.
And that takes practice time and musical aptitude.
Yeah, completely. We're talking about certain cases where these people have come out of nowhere.
But they didn't come out of nowhere. That's the whole point of these two. The whole point of this is they were famous before, so why would they need to do a deal with the devil?
Because, we got the ladies, huh?
Is it but it was getting that anyway. He had all that before this. So is it the quest for perfection that would drive someone to make a deal with the devil?
I personally agree with what you just said there, Kerry, because I think all deals with the devil, whether we joke about it, whether they're based on cases or this, that, and the other, or Natasha D songs, it has to do with being able to do something really, really well and getting the respect and the adulation you want from it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Money and power, and
money
respect.
And power.
Comes into that. Yeah.
Money and power,
like politics. Same thing. Politics.
Yeah. I'm sure there's people out there sitting in their little caverns and they're underground with the little hands over the little cauldron going, "Oh, Boris."
That conjures up a mental image, everybody.
For our international listeners, sitting in their open caves, their big ones with their burgers and that in a big cauldron and going, "Oh, Trump, 2020."
So come on then, Mark.
You know that.
Where was the alien link?
Ah, right. In looking up deals with the devils and this, that, and the other, there's been a few of the stories where, not the ones we talk about tonight, but when you look at some of the deals, in a couple of them, the devil sent one of his minions to deliver the contract to be signed. There's a couple of websites, I won't mention their names because, quite frankly, it was very laughable, suggesting that these... See, Carl knows where I'm going with this. Suggesting
I probably
that
know the
these
website you've been to, Mark.
Yeah. That these minions that were sent were actually aliens, and that actually the devil, demons, angels who had a battle on this earth actually just stepped in from either a different dimension or a different planet. Kudum, boom, minions, minions, the ones who go, woohoo, aliens. They are
or without the alien twist, maybe a film that's been on recently where you got minions, green little guys looking at me, no heads, going, and all that sort of stuff.
Devil is proof.
Or there's another thing. Maybe it's potentially, when you look at it, when you believe in somebody that believes in something and you have followers, maybe it's not minions, it's followers that are going off to do your work.
So basically, people are making deals with Donald Trump.
No, not Donald Trump. I'm just saying about you, Mark. Maybe there's people out there that are Mark fans that wander up and, ooh, Mark.
No. I give autographs for free. I don't want any of that nonsense.
The guy does autographs for free, and but you never know. These guys, these things. It's all about how a story that happens now gets portrayed, say, 10 years, 15 years, 100 years time.
With you looking like...
and that's all I'm saying. I'm taking the mickey out of all the stories, but at the end of the day, potentially there was fact-based information about it, but from then till 200 years or 300 years' time, people just, like me in glasses, go, hey, let's talk about weird shit.
You know what? In about 600 years' time, they could listen to this podcast and it would be the birth of the fact that Ed Sheeran had a deal with the devil, as did Robbie Williams, and now Sting.
No. If you're going to talk about Sting, I would say Sting's the father who spawned Robbie and Ed. So if you're going to do that, we're going to have to go facts and put something down for later years, maybe a time capsule when we talk about the progression of the human race, talking about Sting being the father, producing a ginger and a drunk or whatever.
He's not. He's a respectably married man now, and he's all lovely.
But believes in aliens.
And what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
So
nothing.
do you.
Yeah, but I'm not part of Take That, am I?
So now it's jealousy. There you go. We just heard it. Carl is jealous because he's not a member of Take That. There you go. That's what it all boils down.
Get rid of old what's her face. I could have done Relight My Fire.
Take That have all got their own hair, you cheeky bugger. Right.
On that
And
note,
we still haven't found out why
You
violins
do.
are the
There you
perceived why they are the perceived instrument of the devil. We still haven't come to the bottom of this.
because they're hard to play.
Because they're hard to play. Well, actually,
Okay, Kerry,
the
can you play any of
rhubarb
these
and the
instruments?
rabbit.
Can you play any of these instruments we're talking about?
No, but I can play the clarinet.
We're not talking about the. We're not, sorry,
It's
I do
called
apologise for
Devil's
swearing. We're not talking about the clarinet. At the end of the day, as a famous movie says, all you do is put your lips together and blow.
No, that was Debbie Does Dallas.
I never said what film it was, Mark. I just said it's a famous film that has the famous name. Anybody in the chat room, and we're not talking about a porn film, the famous
Casanova.
film that goes, if all you got to do is put your lips together and blow. There's a famous non-porn film, non-weird film, but there is a famous film.
Casanova.
Casanova, no, he's an ugly little Italian bloke who obviously had a big wang.
Oh, okay, fine. I
Maybe
knew it was.
Tenet
It's a
is
woman, a
equal
very
as well.
famous woman. And on one of Nick Kershaw's, I'm going back into dear to the 80s now.
Haircut
Nick
100.
Kershaw did a song
God.
and actually sampled that onto the beginning of it. You just put your lips together and blow. Anyway, we're running out of time, so we can't actually find out why the violin is supposed to be the
Go on,
devil.
quickly. And we will both shut up, won't we, Carl? Yes, say yes, Carl. Right. You do it. Go for it. Now,
Yes,
quick.
Carl.
He's quiet.
Right. Imported from Arabia in the 15th century, bowed instruments, the rhubarb and the rabbek, were imported into Europe. They didn't have stringed instruments back then. And because it has Eastern origins, that carried an association with evil. And then, obviously, in the Middle Ages, a perception of the East as sensual and uninhibited that basically gave the stringed instrument a whole evil mysticism side of things. And then basically where dancing is
They
or
came
music
from
is,
erotic Arabia.
it's supposed to be linked to the devil because it was having fun and being uninhibited.
Something
Right?
inhibited, anyway.
And that is why Christianity frowned on music in the form of pleasure. You could sing hymns in a church, which is why they are also dire, because they weren't supposed to be something you enjoyed.
They were miserable
Boom.
and sexually repressed. They were. Yes. There you go. Thank you very much for that,
And
Kerry.
because
Yes, Carl.
the violin is easy to transport, it was easy for bards and people that Carl was talking about earlier in the show, travelling musicians, to use a violin or one of these variations like the lute, a stringed instrument. And mic drop, walk out the room.
Like bards in Monty Python. He's packing his bags and buggering off. Brave, 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 brave. Robin. You bugger off.
On that note, we have come to the end of the show. What are we talking about next week, my beautiful men?
Hopefully
I don't know,
it's
Carl
a
was drunk.
conspiracy.
Pardon?
Hopefully we're talking something conspiracy or aliens front because I'm confused over this myths and legends.
The myths and legends. You don't like talking about myths and legends at all.
Because I have no idea. I just go with the flow.
We certainly went round of flowing tonight. Now, next week, this is more your bag, guys.
Go on.
Are you bated breath?
I'm baited something.
We are talking
I'm
all
baiting on
about parallel dimensions next week.
Boom. Back of the
So we're
net.
talking locker rooms.
Onion theory.
Yeah, I mean, locker rooms, where Men in Black. And they go, hey, hey.
Oh, the Men in Black link, right? Yep, glad you clarified with
Particularly because we've got the film coming out next week, so that's a good subject to be talking about. The Men in Black International and hey.
Okay, so parallel dimensions. We could talk about Narnia.
Yeah, that was a parallel dimension. Yeah, definitely.
In fiction.
It's like our built-in wardrobe. Yeah, you put something in it, and when you climb in to get it, I literally have my feet dangling out, and I swear Mr. Sumner's handed me a spanner.
And do you remember we found out years ago?
He just said he went in there fiddling with his hands. What did he come out with?
A spanner.
A spanner.
No,
do you remember that? Yeah, but that reminds me of a story we found out. There was a plumber guy, right, who he was doing some plumbing and then went through. Do you remember this, Mark?
Up to the knuckles. What?
He went through. He was plumbing underneath his sink, and he says he went through to a parallel dimension.
That's right.
Ended up in his kitchen,
yeah.
Sat down with his elder self from 10 years in the future.
Right. Yeah.
Right. Sat down, had a cup of tea. Pardon?
How much was his bill? Because obviously, time waiting, he's gone from. He is that hot. But he must have really sucked between his teeth.
2 years ago.
Could you imagine though, like, if you crawl through something and you meet your older self, right, 10 years from now. Firstly, your house hasn't changed at all in any way, shape or form. That's a little depressing,
I'll give you next week's lottery numbers.
You know, that's a little depressing. But anyway, that was a story on another show that we talked about. We found out a weird and wacky one.
So we're talking parallel dimensions.
Parallel dimensions.
That has any interesting stories, interesting theories, drop us a mile, drop us a little message, drop us whatever, drop us something. Or get in touch with us on social media or Snail Smid or whatever you want to do, and just get in touch with us and let us know what you're going to be doing. And we'll talk about that next Friday.
We are talking about that next Friday. And on that note, say good night, guys.
Good night, my lovelies. Master, shall I let them out? Master, shall I let them out?
Down the back.
Let them out, Master.
My best T-Rex impersonation. Right, see you later.
Master said good night. Master's going to bed now.
Oh, Jesus.
Thank you for listening.
He's turning
Don't
into
forget to join us for more
ginger
shows
guitar
throughout
player.
the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.